Thank you guys for joining us again on another episode of Future of Work C-Series Real Talk. Today, we're interviewing the VP of Customer Support at Jiobit, the legendary Martina Matthews. My name is Ahmed Flex Omar. I'm the Deputy Director and CXO of MALA, the Muslim American Leadership Alliance. We'll tell you a little bit about our series. So Holly and I came up with this idea to produce a series of talks that's focused on finding out how the future of work is changing. And it started last year and during the pandemic. And we've done a number of them, and the insights that we've received both from the CEOs and also the attendees have been incredible. So we decided to continue this series and do once a month. And Holly's been a FinTech veteran for a while. She's FinTech famous. And today she's going to be interviewing Martina. Martina and I have known each other for quite some time, and I'm excited to see this interview today. And I want to hand off the mic to Holly.
Thank you very much, Flex. Definitely excited to have our first female on the future of work so far. So Martina, thank you very much for joining us today. So as we get started, why don't you just give us a little bit about your background? I know Flex mentioned that you're at Jiobit now, but I believe your journey started a little before that. So why don't you tell everyone just a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Sure. Yeah. So I am from Chicago, South Side, born and raised. I literally fell into the tech startup scene probably 15 years ago and have stayed in the tech startup scene since then. Kicked things off with Chegg.com, which I know we'll talk about a little bit more. And then from there went to Sittercity, GetNexter, and now I am at Jiobit. Outside of that, yeah, I'm so excited to talk with you and just kind of share my story and hopefully get some other folks hyped up about becoming entrepreneurs.
Great. So we've got quite a fun path to talk about today. So let's start at the beginning with Chegg. Can you tell everyone just a little bit about what Chegg, first, guys, what it is, and then how you guys even started it?
Sure. So Chegg started out as a textbook rental service for college students. Today, it is a public company, and it has evolved into really all things related to the college education space, as well as getting students started with their professional career. So it just turned into complete education tech monster.
Yeah, I mean, the college textbook space, I remember when I was going to school, that was one of my mom and I's kind of agreement was that I had to pay for my own textbooks. And I thought that wouldn't be that big of a deal. I was like, oh, well, who cares? And then I go and I see, and these books are $400. And then half the time the teacher just uses PowerPoint slides and you feel like you just wasted this money. And then you go to sell it back and they give you $20 for it, even though it was 400, a couple months ago. So talk a little bit about what you guys did to kind of deal with this.
Yeah, so we did not get started with textbook rentals. So initially, Chegg started out as a closed network for college students to exchange or buy products from each other. So like a closed network, Craigslist, or Marketplace. And we thought that people were going to be excited to sell and trade their dorm furniture and clothing and electronics and all the things, and textbooks. And really, we were pushing this agenda and it just wasn't completely clicking. So we were spending all this money focused on this marketplace and it was falling a little bit flat. So we got to the point where we were just about out of money, which was terrifying. We're almost out of funding. This was my job at the time. So I'm worried I'm going to lose my job. Why did I dare enter a startup? What's going on? But the team at the time, less than 10 of us, we decided to go all in on textbook rentals because we saw that where there was activity on our site was students trying to trade or sell or purchase their textbooks from each other. So we were like, okay, let's hone in on that and let's just see what happens. And just smoke and mirrors, we got that site up and running, and it it just took off. Like we knew there was a product market fit, and we went all in, every one of us.
And so were you guys targeting, like you said, funding? Like how much funding did you guys have to start when you had 10 of you guys there?
So we had some private investors, and then the co-founders had also put some money in, but we were running out, and because we didn't have much traction with our customer set, like there wasn't anything encouraging our current investors to want to put in more money at the time. So like the countdown had started.
And so then what happened? What was the kind of changeover when you guys switched to textbooks? Like how you said that that's kind of where you guys saw some activity. So was there a huge jump, or how did you guys end up marketing the textbooks? What was different?
There was a huge jump. So what was great was we did have a huge customer list from kind of like our first efforts. We had all of these college students who had given us their email information, and we just started blasting them with, hey guys, if you're looking for cheaper textbooks, you can now rent them on Chegg. And we completely changed the website. We took down the marketplace and literally listed every possible textbook out there available for rent. And we just slashed the price completely to make it super affordable for folks to just jump on in. So
you guys bought a bunch of books first before
no, we had no books. So we made every single book available. And honestly, when our first order came in, we were all jumping up and down like, oh my gosh, they did it. They put their credit card information in and they actually rented a textbook. And then like a second one came in and a third one came in, and we had a couple, like a handful that first day. And we were like, yes, this is going to take off. But then we had to figure out, okay, now how do we even get this textbook?
Yeah.
So we went to Amazon and just used our personal credit card and bought whatever textbook at full price and then shipped it to the student.
So how did you guys make money from this? Like, so you were buying it at full price and like giving it to them at a discount because you're renting it, or how is like, how did they get it back to you? It seems like there's a lot of logistics that have to be figured out.
Yeah. So, I mean, to start, you're absolutely going through your funding. Like, this is the cost of operations. This is what we're doing. We're just trying to prove that this is a win for students. They want this. And it wasn't about, we have to make money at this time. I mean, it takes time for companies to actually become profitable. So this was just about getting it all going.
Okay.
So yeah, it was painstakingly manual to get these books out to students, but Amazon was our premium supplier when we first got started.
Okay. And so then how did you guys progress? Like, as you started to, you kind of built your proof of concept, right? So it's like, as you're saying, I think that's an important point to, other aspiring entrepreneurs is understanding, like, you're going to have to spend money to make money, right? But you have to be really wise when you look at that, right? So I feel like that's like a pretty, thin line or double-edged sword there when, I guess in entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And I mean, there was 10 of us. So we definitely had some janky processes in place. Like, full transparency is, it wasn't like we set up this simple website and we placed a handful of orders and then everything was automated. Like, that was not the journey at all. We were purchasing these textbooks off of Amazon with our personal credit cards. All of our personal credit cards were maxed out. Amazon is looking at, okay, Martina is buying books for hundreds of students across the country. So now Amazon is shutting us down for fraud. My credit card company is calling me about fraud. And this is like every single member of the company is going through this. So we're constantly calling Amazon, calling our credit cards, saying all of this is fine. These are gifts for students. We're just trying to like work our way through it. There was zero customer like admin tool. So literally the customer records were like my order history in Amazon. So we started copying and pasting customer names and the book that we bought for them in a Google spreadsheet. So we operated like this for our first season, just
to get it done.
It was held together by like spit, gum, sweat, tears. Yeah, right. Like, it was not easy. So our first season, the August season, so just before people are starting their fall semester, it was just about, we have to hold it together. And it was hard. It was hard and it was tiring and stressful, but we all saw like, there's a fit here. This is going to happen. People want this. So let's just get through the season. And then we'll have a couple months ahead of the winter season to actually build some more processes, see where we could automate something, build a very basic customer admin tool to manage the customers outside of a Google spreadsheet. So lots of hustle.
Yeah. So how did they and that's kind of like your area, right? But the customer success. So how did you, take that forward? You were at Chegg for 6 years, I believe.
Yeah, I was there for a while. The first couple of months as we were rolling this out, I was the only customer support person. I fell into customer support as well. I never thought I would be a lover of customer support as a function, and here I am. But customer support was my cell phone number. It was my Razr flip phone. I kept it underneath my pillow. My laptop was next to me. 24/7 support was me answering my cell phone for months. And people called at 2 a.m. College students were just up studying. So I would just like wipe my eyes, open my laptop, and it's like, hi, this is Martina from Chegg. How can I help?
Goodness. I mean, so what is the business doing today?
Today, it's a monster. There are customer support teams that handle all the different services that they offer. So textbook rentals is just such a small space. So they have, of course, like the e-textbooks. They have a really popular tutoring service where people can tap into tutoring services, which was extremely helpful over the last year since people were not on campus. They were tapping into all sorts of resources just on how to learn their curriculum. So Chegg has just done a really great job with staying relevant in everything in the college student's journey.
That's really interesting. So when you left, like, what was your reasoning when you decided to leave Chegg? Like, after being there for 6 years, I know you moved on to Sittercity, like kind of just wanted a new adventure, like felt like it was getting, it was time to start again, or?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that play into a factor here. So one, I left Chicago while I was engaged to my now husband. So we had not lived together for the 5+ years that I was out in California. So it was just time to come and live in the same state as my husband. And also just to see family and friends. It was time to come back into like home. As Chegg grew, things became more defined, processes are more built out. It's more structured, which is exactly what needs to happen when a company gets to that size. But I am a lover of the startup vibe. So as things become more settled and there's that level of structure, it's time for me to move on to my next space. If everything's running smoothly, it's just not the place for me.
You've already got it. You've got it ready to go. So, well, then let's talk about Sittercity. So when you left Chegg, it's really funny. I remember when I got back from, I taught English in South Korea after college. And when I got back to Chicago, I actually was on Sittercity. I was thinking about doing some au pair work. So it's kind of funny to actually speak with someone who works there. So would love to hear a little bit about your Sittercity journey and maybe give the audience a little bit of background about the company as well.
Sure. Yeah. So Sittercity is an online platform where we match caregivers with families. So mostly childcare, though at the time there has also been companion care for older customers. And at one time they even had pet care. So when I left Chegg, I did need to de-stress. I was wound very tight after that run. So I took about 6 months off to travel and just unwind, relax with friends, lose some weight. Gained quite a bit of weight throughout my startup career because of stress and honestly not making time for myself at all. So just kind of took time to unwind a bit. So I wanted to be like fully rested and refreshed to jump into my next
That's really
space.
important. Like, I think I just want to like comment on that right now. It's like so often we don't do that, like it's you, especially in the startup world, like you said, you were on 24/7, so I just want to say that's really great that you actually did take that time. More of us should.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky that like financially I was able to do so. And having literally 6 months was the perfect amount of time for me. I mean, I honestly, it probably took a month or two to fully like forget about my email inbox, like want to check, like, oh, does someone need something? Oh, does somebody have a question? Maybe I can still help. And then it's like, okay, let it go, Martina. Like, it's fine. Let it go.
I know the constant churning.
Mhm.
How did you, when you know that you were ready to go back?
I was starting to get bored. I was having a ton of fun relaxing and traveling, and eventually like my brain just wanted to tackle another problem. Yeah, it was simple as that. I wanted to get back into spreadsheets. Like, I missed spreadsheets and data. And I was like, okay, it's time. It's time to get back. Plus I really did love customer support. Like, I knew I wanted to get back into customer support and oversee a customer support team as well. So yeah, I was just like hyped up and ready to join another startup.
And so then Sittercity was your next route. Tell us, how did that go?
Yeah. So I think I was looking specifically for a startup in Chicago. My entire network at this point was in California. So I was really just looking, okay, where are the startups? And at the time, there weren't that many, or they weren't easy to find. So I found Sittercity. They were a later stage startup, but still like a smaller company, a startup. They were doing big things. So I was just like, I'm all in. This is where I want to be. Met with the team there. Like I said, they were trying to improve their metrics and just introduce new projects and products. And I was like, yes, okay, this looks like there's some things to tinker with here. And the people seem great. So it ended up being a fit.
How many people were there when you joined?
At the time, there were about 60, and that included about 10 customer support representatives.
Okay, and so how long were you at Sittercity? Tell us a little bit about what you learned there, or what you took from Sittercity.
Sure. So I was at Sittercity for about 4 years. When I first joined, customer support as a function didn't have a voice.
Okay.
Customer support data was not being fed back into the business, which was interesting because everyone on the leadership team wanted the customer support data. There was just this gap. So when I realized that, I was like, oh, yes, this is perfect. We're going to bridge this gap and everyone's going to be happy and magical things are going to happen. Kind of met the team, and I think it's not uncommon that there are customer support teams that they reach a stage of burnout, and whatever drive and excitement they had when they first got hired, sometimes that starts to fall a little dry. And that was happening at Sittercity. So like everyone was great, but you could just see that some people had reached this point of, okay, I don't like super love my job. I'm not super excited about the things that we're doing. So to kind of really connect with those folks and get them hyped up again about Sittercity because they were doing great things there, and just connect them to the rest of the business was an opportunity to take on there. And we did make that. We did bridge that gap, and customer support was then elevated into this like very respectful team that people wanted to engage with within the business. Many of the customer support representatives ended up being promoted to other departments in the business. And I think that's probably the most rewarding part of joining a startup and then overseeing customer support specifically, and having like that team of more junior level employees just to like get them really going and started in their career.
Yeah, that does sound fun. It's kind of like you're almost doing customer support for your team as well, right? Kind of like helping them with their career customer support. An interesting view on that. So then talk to us about where were you at afterwards? After Sittercity was Nectar, I think.
Yeah, so Nectar is another California-based startup. So I linked arms with one of the co-founders from Chegg once again, to get things going in customer success for his company.
You, or how did you, you were talking about how it was kind of tough to find jobs in startups. Like, how did you kind of find, you had kind of some good luck, but I definitely do understand it is tough. Like, where do you even begin?
Yeah. So, so leaving Sittercity, I decided to take some time off again as well. So I took about 6 months off there as well. I did have a little girl during that time too. So once I was ready to jump back into work, I just reached out to my network as a starting point, just saying like, hey, I'm on the market. And as soon as I said that, Ayush from Chegg and Nectar was like, you need to fly out here, see what we're doing, and see if this is a fit.
And
So, sorry?
what can you tell everyone what Nectar is or what Nectar does?
Yeah, sure. So they manage the liquor pours at restaurants and bars and stadiums. So I know it's a little disappointing from the consumer's end because we're making sure that the drinks are made perfectly. So if 1 ounce of your liquor of choice is supposed to be in that cocktail, we're going to help coach the bar management to let them know maybe if some bartenders are pouring them a little heavier or not. So it was just really interesting to enter that world because I wanted to help, of course, our customers out who are the bar owners and the restaurant owners and the stadium owners. But there was always a side of me that was like, oh, they're not getting as strong of a drink than they were because we've corrected this. But super cool company, like super smart, awesome technology.
Yeah, so it was is it a tool you put on the bottle, or how does it?
Yep, there's actual hardware. So Nectar has a branded spout or pourer that goes onto any of the liquor bottles that you'll see on the shelf. And it uses sonar technology to feed the data into the bar management staff so they know what's going on. So there's literally a live feed of what's being poured at what time by what bartender at what bar.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I had worked at a bar before where they actually it was a long time ago. So it was before this, where they actually had the pours, like you had to put something on it and it went right to the machine, where it only let you do 1 ounce, as you were saying, because they wanted to make sure no one was giving anyone extra. So you guys were actually able to give that data. Do you guys provide like reports to like the bars so they knew if certain bartenders were being too generous? And
Yep. Yeah. And you can also match it to, okay, so this liquor was poured, and this is the drink that was rung in on the register. And here's the recipe for that drink. And then here's the math that says they used the right liquor and the right pour amount.
oh, wow.
And then we would calculate that as a potential cost, loss, because we would know all the pricing. So we could say, oh, well, if you're pouring double every time, this is how much you're losing out on profits.
Wow, that's definitely a great tool for business owners, but I see what you mean for patrons alike. It's maybe not as great a tool for them. Okay, great. So then how was the team like at Nectar? Like, how did that work? Since you said, was it still a startup, or was it a bigger company when you joined, or?
Oh, no, it was tiny. So less than 20 people altogether, but it included hardware teams, analysts, sales. And when I first joined, there wasn't a dedicated head of customer success. So at the time that I joined, we only had less than a handful of beta customers. So when I joined, it was about turning those beta customers into paid customers, but then also defining, okay, now how do we onboard new customers? When do we start to charge them? How do we make sure they're successful? We're a data company, and we had to make sure we were giving the data in a way that was understandable to the bar owners who maybe aren't analytical. So it's like, how do you take all of this amazing data and spoon feed them what they need to know?
How did you guys get into the bars? Like, how did you guys even start that? Just like door to door, just hitting the pavement, or?
I think it's a bit of, reaching out to your personal network. When you get the beta companies going, also kind of asking them for referrals to other bar owners and restaurant owners, and having a dedicated sales person who is also reaching out to their network. And it's just a hustle. It's a hustle, especially when you're first getting started with kind of this brand new concept that no other business has live right now, right? You have to sell it. You have to actually say like, hey, here's how this works. Here's what we're going to be able to do for you. Let's sign. Let's get this going.
Were you focused in one market? Like you said that you got on a plane and went out to California to learn about it. Did you guys start it just based in California, or how did you guys deal with the market expansion piece?
So the initial beta companies were in California, Florida, and New York. So we were already a little bit spread. And obviously the California one was super convenient because you could just walk over there and check things out and test out new products. And we also had some people on the ground in New York and in Florida who were able to just be super hands-on as we were really building out the product and improving features and things like that.
Oh, cool. And so how long were you at Nectar for?
So I was there for just about 2 years. And with the pandemic of last year, restaurants and bars and stadiums, they all closed in like 1 month. So, we had really successful clients, and we had many just lined up for the summer. And really what was happening is, okay, it was time that people were looking to pause their subscription to our service, which totally made sense. But it was just happening, like just down the list, every single customer. And so at the time it was like, who knows how long this is gonna last? Nobody has any ideas. And the bars and restaurants couldn't just pay for a service that they weren't actually going to be using.
Yeah, so what did you guys do? Is Nectar still around, or was it able to, survive the pandemic, or,
Yes. So at the time we did downsize. So we did kind of fold our customer success team because there weren't any active customers at the time. And there has still been a focus on still testing out the product, building out the product to be just even better, the dashboards to be better. Sales are still happening. There's still an interest just throughout the pandemic. Every business owner they didn't know when things were going to reopen, but they knew it's going to reopen. So if they could survive the financial burden of being closed for close to a year, right? And they're now ready to get everything up and running, they are still interested in this. So pending contracts, like as soon as they open, people are going to turn on. And I think that they're going to do really great things. So it's such a cool product. There's nothing else out there for those business owners.
And so after leaving Nectar, I agree. I definitely think with everything opening back up, businesses are probably going to be even more interested in understanding that data and analytics, right? Because of after what they just lost from not operating, they want to make sure that they're operating more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
But how did the pandemic affect you personally when with your being in the customer success role? Is that when you left and went to go to Jiobit?
So I decided to take some time off again. So I have this regular track record of, okay, I'll plan to take at least 6 months off again. So I think I had a new challenge this time around because I do have my little girl. And at the time, she's 3 years old, and there is no childcare. There's no summer camps. There's nothing going on. My husband is a fireman. He's gone 24 hours at a time. So I was a little bit stuck. I was I am very, very grateful that, again, we're able to financially step away. I don't have to worry about working for 6 months, and I just get to focus on having this quality time with my daughter. And just my mindset as far as my career was, I wasn't burnt out from Nectar. But still, I was like, okay, I'm just going to focus on my daughter and my family during this time, enjoy the nice weather, because that's at least what we all get to hold on to in the summer is sunshine. And I'm just going to wait for things to settle with the pandemic, and then look for that next company.
And so then talk to us about Jiobit.
Yes. So I feel very lucky that I found Jiobit. It was actually through a referral from someone in my network who's an HR professional. So she had heard about this role and thought that it would be a perfect fit. So I was introduced to the CEO, and I mean, we just had the best first call. Everything that he described about the company and the stage that was in, and just his attitude towards everything and how he manages, his team and how he wants the company to be built out. Everything was perfect. So we had a really great conversation, and very quickly I was introduced to the other members of the leadership team and just the interview panel, and including the entire customer support team. And I just loved every single person. So it was a great match. I'm very happy to be there.
And how many people are at Jiobit?
So we were just a couple weeks ago, maybe 25. Jiobit has very exciting things happening. They were just acquired by, we're going through an acquisition deal with Life 360, and we're in the process of hiring. So I imagine by the end of the year, we may double in size.
Whoa. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about Jiobit and what it does? And I think the pandemic has a pretty interesting spin on where you guys began and where you might be moving forward to.
Yeah, so Jiobit is all about location data. So we have a little gadget that really was most popular with families looking to have peace of mind in knowing where their little ones were. So little ones are maybe too young for a cell phone. We could clip this little gadget on them or pop it in their backpack, and you would be able to tap into your app at any time and see where they're at. You could set up notifications so that you know that they've arrived at school, or they've left school, or they've arrived at grandma's house, or they're leaving grandma's house, things like that. And it's literally just peace of mind. You don't have to worry about someone texting you or forgetting to text you to let you know that they're safe. So this has just brought automation to all of that.
And so when you sort of first started for kids, but then with the pandemic, everyone's with their children. So what did you guys kind of do there, and how did they pivot?
Yeah, so we have always had a few different customer segments. So obviously for the little ones, that was the most popular. We also have a pet market, so people having this on their dogs or their cats, or even falcons, foxes. We're seeing all sorts of things, and then also for adult care. So if your parents maybe are going through early stages of dementia, this was a way that they were allowed to keep their freedom, and you could still just tap in and see where they might be. At the time of the pandemic, you're right, everybody was staying home. So we saw the family market just kind of fall flat. So this is before my time. So the team had to go through those struggles. Things were slowing down. Those sales slowed down significantly. And then your existing customers, they're also thinking, well, why am I going to pay for this service if my child is home buying me all the time? So the team, again, before my time, had to work through that. They did have to go through downsizing and just keeping everything going. But during the pandemic, people were getting pets like crazy. I don't know if that's fed into this, but the pet market really started picking up. And then especially as of late, there's a ton going on social media with cat owners. They're really loving seeing where their cats are hanging out all day, or if they don't come home for 2 days, are they with another family? So the pet market is a ton of fun right now, and picking up. So we're seeing growth across all the markets, which is why, we're building out our team so we can support all of this.
So you were talking about foxes and falcons. Like, what type of data are you getting on these pets? I'm like kind of intrigued to learn more about this.
They just want to know where their pets are hanging out. I think we're seeing also in some cases, if they live in a more rural area, where is the fox going? Or if the fox didn't come home, where are they in the woods? Making sure they're safe, moving and things like that. Because there's also bears out there. Not that we're tracking any bears that I know of, but people are worried about bears potentially taking their pets.
Yes, data of where their pet is, so they just like can just like, it's kind of like Find My iPhone except Find My Fox.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have this really great, but Flex probably wouldn't think it's great. I have this great plastic owl that you're supposed to like scare birds away with. I wish I would have brought it here today. I would have gone great with your pet example. But
I feel like my mom bought me that same plastic owl, and I was like, "Why are you giving me this?"
It's supposed to scare birds away, like a boat or something. I just like to have props. I think it's fun.
I think that's fine.
And now I'm gonna have to get Flex, have a discussion with him afterwards on why props are important. But I really love the data, because my cat would love to go outside as well. My old cat, when I used to have one, he would go inside and outside, and that would be really interesting to kind of find that information out. What can they do though if they like see it in the woods? Like, is there like an alert? I'm trying to imagine, especially with the elderly, it kind of feels like the old commercial, I've fallen and I can't get up. What kind of happens when you want to find this Jiobit?
Yeah, I think for the pet location data, I think it is just about awareness. Now, if you can't find your pet and they're within Bluetooth range, you can ring it. So you will be able to kind of hear where they might be hiding. And then for the adults, if they need help, like if they feel disoriented, there is a button on the device that will trigger an alert to like whoever might be programmed into the app, just to let them know like, okay, this person needs help.
Oh, that's great. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about being actually, you said that you really like being startups, or someone who's kind of not as, familiar with this industry. What are some struggles or obstacles you face being a female, or any advice you would give to someone to break into this field?
Yeah, I think just to address the question on being a female, I never realized that I was the only female or one of the only females at the leadership table until young women started coming to me and asking me for just advice and mentorship. Like, how do you feel confident in that room with all those men? Or how do you feel confident going into a networking event and you see that it's predominantly men? They started asking questions like, how do I know what to wear? Do I dress less feminine because I don't want to come across as like too sexy or the dumb girl, things like that. So all these questions were coming up, and I was like, wow, well, number one, I didn't realize I was the only girl. I think maybe because I have 3 brothers, maybe that played a factor into it. But it never really stood out to me as a reason to not raise my hand or not lean in. As far as like how I dress or how I recommend women dress, I'm very girly. I own like 2 pairs of jeans. That's it. I prefer dresses and heels. I feel my best in dresses and heels. Now, having said that, I don't necessarily think like that's how women have to dress. I think it's about, how do you feel confident? Like, when you're walking into a room, you need to feel confident. So come as you are, whatever that look might be. Jeans and a t-shirt, fine. Pantsuit, fine. Dresses and heels, fine. It doesn't matter. You need to feel confident. You can't be worried about, how do I look, and like fidget with your outfit. You need to be more focused on, am I prepared for this meeting? Do I know what I'm going to talk through? What are my data points? Mm-hmm. And you just got to come in and own it.
I agree with that completely. I think I'm with you. I like to wear dresses and blazers, but I would prefer to be comfortable, like on a beach somewhere. But we all have to own who we are when we walk into a room. I think that's a really good piece of advice. What advice would you have, as we're wrapping this up here, what advice would you have for any, young aspiring entrepreneurs outside of just, I agree with you in that you really need to look your best, whether it's a jean and t-shirt, just be polished with, who you are. But what about like, if you really want to break into this field, I feel like it's kind of like scary to even think about tech for some people. Any advice you'd have for any women that are thinking about it?
Yeah, you just gotta go for it. Like, it sounds simple and terrifying, but you just have to put one foot in front of the other and go for it. Like, we're humans. Everyone is nervous about something. Every single person is nervous about something. Now, when you're going for any job, everybody has nerves, right? So if you're interested in joining the startup world or the tech scene, you just need to present yourself as someone I'm all in. I'm ready to learn. I know Flex and I actually just spoke about this recently. It's having the mindset of like, I'm coachable. Like, I am coachable. If you combine that with the mindset of everything is figure outable, you're ready. Like, you're ahead of the game. People will want to hire you. And when you do get that role, it's about leaning in. It's the daily grind. It's not glamorous. You may cry. It's okay. I have cried from stress. It's fine. And you just gotta, like, you just work through it. You have to see, this is the goal. This is what we want to do. We're all in, and I'm part of this. Don't doubt yourself.
I love that. We've got a question here. If you could talk about the tools that you would recommend for customer support for new entrepreneurs.
Okay, so I love Zendesk, and they often have promotions on for startups. So I definitely recommend like reaching out to the Zendesk team, but they've really done an amazing job of, this is a tool where you can organize every type of contact coming in, whether it's text, email, phone, and they do a really amazing job with their analytics. So anybody that's in support, or even if your product, diving into the customer support analytics is going to be key to everything. So learning that portion of Zendesk is going to be a big win.
And what would you say is like, for a new company, what is a good customer success flow? Like, is there even any right answer?
No.
Like, I don't know if there's a great recipe.
I mean, honestly, it's about listening to your customer. As you get started, you're going to learn something from the first customer you talk to the second customer you talk to the first 5, to the first 10. And it's just about making sure you're in tune with what they're saying. Where are they getting confused? What's a high friction point for the customer? And support by itself as a function can only do so much. So it's important that you bring that feedback and that data back into the business, all departments, so that they can run with it.
I agree completely. How do you, like, when you say that, bring that back to all departments, how have you done that? If you have any examples of how you've been able to do that at Jiobit right now?
Sure. Yeah. At Jiobit, I mean, we have actually daily meetings, daily check-ins with the leadership team. So anything that's of high importance or like brand new trends, we're bringing out in those daily stand-ups. Outside of that, we do have a longer weekly meeting where the entire leadership team is kind of going through all of the KPIs, but also just, hey, here's the top contact drivers. Here are our top needs right now to improve the customer experience. So it's just staying relevant in the conversation week after week.
I agree. I think that's really important. Are you guys planning on, like, I know you said you guys are hiring, but are you guys trying to forecast for the fall when like everyone's going back to school? Like, do you feel like there's going to be a jump in, Gio, but I know the pets are a big thing right now, but.
Yeah, so we definitely have a forecasting model, and really across all segments, especially with families, their kids going back to school, everything is starting back up. I mean, we're expecting and already seeing just growth month over month. So we're going to make sure we're building out our team so that we can continue to support our customers.
Okay, and then we have a question come in. If you could talk a little bit about your Mexican heritage and advice that you would offer any female entrepreneurs or minorities.
Sure. So yes, I am Mexican. And I mean, I have spoken with smaller Hispanic groups, female groups. And I think honestly, in those groups compared to just other women in entrepreneur groups, see a ton of overlap just in finding our voice and confidence as women. I personally, just looking at the companies that I've been to, I've been, I guess, very lucky in that I've always had a diverse leadership team or just diverse group of people at a company. So I personally haven't felt any type of negative vibes since I've been in my professional career related to being Hispanic.
Okay, and then can you talk a little bit, you said that you've had women come to you in the past and ask you questions. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of mentorship, maybe how it's affected you?
Yeah, I love mentorship. I think there's nothing more rewarding than seeing people grow and become more confident in themselves. So, I mean, I'm still in touch with so many of the representatives that I hired at Chegg, at Sittercity, at Nectar. Some of them have worked with me across more than one company together. I mean, we have a VP of engineering now, from the roster, from someone from Sittercity. We have head of product. Like, seeing these people go on in their professional career and just knowing that they're always going to have the customer perspective in their mindset as they move forward, they're just going to make a better customer experience for that company.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. Well, this has been really wonderful to have you on today. Again, thank you for being our first female on our Future of Work C-Series Real Talk. Really appreciated hearing your story, and look forward to once we get back to life, EBC, events before COVID, and actually in person again.
Yes, that sounds good. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you so much for your time and everyone for tuning in. Bye.